Morning.
So happy to see you guys.
And especially again under a Scorpio moon.
There's Miss Lorelei. Hear her beautiful voice. So happy to have you guys here on this, wow, very auspicious time of year. Here we are headed towards the time of Easter, the time of crucifixion, the time of resurrection. So what was inspired for me to share today was to have a conversation according to the Course in Miracles about what is the resurrection. And there is just a beautiful section in A Course in Miracles that's all it talks about. And it is sprinkled, the resurrection and the crucifixion, it is sprinkled throughout A Course in Miracles. But there is the emphasis is on the resurrection, because the resurrection is what this is all about. It is about rising. It is about lifting our frequency and rising up into the truth of who we are, because humanity has descended into untruths, and we have been operating on this human plane, this plane of stagnancy. And it's time for us to move out of the horizontal and rise into the vertical, into the heights of the truth of who we are. Not that we're going to leave our humanity behind, but we are going to infuse it with our divinity. That is what needs to resurrect, is the truth of who we are inside of us. So before we go into what the Course is saying about the resurrection, I would love to ask, how are you guys doing today? Unmute yourselves and please share what are you present to right now? What is emerging? What is happening in you? Kat, share with you. What are you present to right now?
Well, I'm very excited. This is hard to do because it's of a political nature.
Kat, let me just say this. One of the things we have got to get over is this idea of segregating conversations. We have got to be okay talking about anything and everything, because it is in the embracing all that is, whatever is emerging, that we're finally going to come to a place of peace. So please, you do not need to qualify that whatever it is that you're saying is of a political nature. All of it has to be okay, because all of it is part of our experience.
Well, so, yeah, it's definitely part of my experience. So I've always leaned toward one of the candidates way more than another. And I finally decided I've got to quit just watching, just seeing it happen and voting, but blah, blah, blah. So I've gotten involved on a local level. And it's empowering, because you can see even within one party, the division within that party. And it's amazing. And it's happening in both parties. So it's not exactly, but because I'm in it now, because I've joined organizations, I'm loving it. It's giving me, it's giving me energy. To them, I'm new blood. I'm like, I could be 75, I'm still new blood. And that's really important. And I'm seeing that happen. I'm seeing grassroots growing. And I don't hate either one of I don't have any hate in me anywhere, period, really. So I send my love to both parties and people. Don't wish harm on anybody whatsoever. And yet I think I have to stand up for what I believe, for what calls to my heart. So I am, and it's exciting. It's a new adventure for me.
Well, it is part of what needs to happen here. And I'm responding to Sister Sarita. So happy to have you here. Yes, we will connect. Let's definitely chat afterwards. So this is part of what has to happen is that we have to resurrect our recognition of the importance of what we each have to say and bring to the party. One of the reasons why we have been crucified, and by crucified, I mean we have allowed ourselves to become inconsequential, to believe that our voice doesn't matter, to be relegated to the, you are not important people. Our minds have been conditioned into allowing this contrived authority to make decisions for us because we're not smart enough to make them for ourselves. So little by little by little, as within, so without, we have stepped away from our connection to the divine authority, and we have relegated power to an external authority. So as within, so without, we've got to connect within, connect with the divine authority. And when we begin to do that, and I know you've been on this journey quite a while, not only have I personally coached you, but I see you.
Thank God.
I see what we're doing. And that resurrection within shows up as a commitment to participate without. They go hand in hand. And as you were saying, yes, we've been divided into two parties, which is part of the travesty. And then within those parties, there's division within those parties. Within the political parties, there's the women's Republican group. Then there's in the Democrats, they've got the male Republicans. There's the white Republicans, the African American Democrats, the women of the Christian women. We're so divided that we absolutely have lost touch with the thing that connects us. And we can only unite when we are all agreeing with the same truth. And, one of the things that is really fascinating, we have to all come to the same truth. There is clearly different perspectives of truth. And those are part of our upbringing, of our culture, of our beliefs, of so many things affect our perception of truth. But if you take truth and you look at it like you would a bicycle wheel, there are all different perspectives. All of the different spokes are aspects of the truth, but they all lead to the center, to the hub. When you come to the hub, there is one collective truth, and that is where we have to unite. So the more that we understand what has to be resurrected inside of us, the more we're all going to come to know the one truth that is true for all of us. And our ego mind is conditioned to think that if we all come to the same truth, then we're going to lose our individuality. No, actually, that's when we come to really understand the power and the importance of our individuality. Because when we come to the one truth that is true for all of us, we come to the awareness of our power. And our power comes from God. It doesn't come from anything external. When we supercharge ourselves by coming inside to God's truth within us, we then come out as individual, distinct, different, beautiful, powerful expressions of the one loving source. Because when we all come to that place of love inside, we go out into the world to extend that love, and that love respects, upholds, supports, ensures the sanctity of every single person's perspective, and allows for what is godly in each and every one of us to be present, something that we have really done a big job of suppressing our godliness. And that is part of the confusion that we have got to clear up, and which is why I want to go to the resurrection, because when we understand the resurrection, we're all coming to the same one truth. So thank you for that share, Kat.
You're welcome.
So thank you. Anybody else want to share what's present for you? And then let's jump into what the Course in Miracles wants to tell us about the resurrection.
Just allowing what needs to be crucified to go.
Yes, exactly. So with that, let's go into the resurrection. If you happen to have your Course in Miracles book, you're going to go to the third book, which is the Manual for Teachers. So you're going to pass, my book is all marked up. You're going to pass the text, which is towards the beginning of the book. Then you're going to pass the lessons, which is in the middle of the book. And then you're going to go towards the very back of the book. And if you happen to have the third edition, you can find this on page 68. And again, this is in the Manual for Teachers and towards the very back of the book. Today, I'm going to do a lot of reading because what Jesus is giving us as the message is so powerful in and of itself that there's really not a whole lot that I can add to it. But what I do want to do is match it up with what's happening in the world so that we can see the relevance of the resurrection of 2,000 years ago to what's happening today. So this title is, what is the resurrection? Very simply, the resurrection is the overcoming or surmounting of death. The overcoming of death. We have got to get clear that we are not bodies. Like the Course in Miracles says, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. When we get comfortable with the truth of who we are, made of energy, and we come to the place that we acknowledge that we are eternal, that is when we really begin to overcome our fear of death. As long as we're afraid of death, we are controllable. Anybody that threatens us with anything that could potentially kill us or potentially save us makes us, well, I'm going to just say it as bluntly as can be, makes us sheep, makes us controllable. It means that we give our power away because fear of death is the greatest tool that the ego uses to have us give our power away. So very simply, the resurrection is the overcoming of that fear of death. It is a reawakening or a rebirth, a change of mind about the meaning of the world. And the Course in Miracles tells us that the world that we are seeing with our physical eyes is a world that man has made. It is not the world that God created. The world that God created is that which is eternal and is unchangeable. But man has created a world, the world that we see, a world of planes, trains, and automobiles, of leaders that come and go, of dictators, of presidents, of preachers and popes and mothers and fathers and all things that humans have believed is what is real. All of it changeable. Everything man creates is temporary. It cannot last for very long because it is infused with a sense of separation and it is infused with fear. Always, it's always going to have fear if it's something that it's made by man. So we have to reawaken. We have to, as it says in here, change our mind about the meaning that we've given the world and stop looking at what's out there as if that is what is real and begin the process to come inside to the truth of who we are, to come back in here and find the meaning of the world according to God, and it's only going to be found within. So sentence 3 says, it is the acceptance of the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the world's purpose, the acceptance of the atonement for oneself. That's the purpose. Right now we have one purpose, and is to accept the atonement. What does that mean? The Course in Miracles wants us to understand that the atonement is to come to at one-ment, to become one with the truth of who we are, to finally once and for all accept who we really are according to how God created us. Now, that means we've got to change a lot of beliefs. We've got to change a lot of beliefs that tell us that we're separate, that we're insignificant, that you can only do this at this age, you can only do that at that age, that you should be this or that, Republican, Democrat, high, low, have-nots. There is a lot of changing that has to take place, and it is all within our mind because that's where it happens. Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. So it is the end of dreams of misery and the glad awareness of the Holy Spirit's final dream. The resurrection is the end of misery. It is the recognition of the gifts of God. It is the dream in which the body functions perfectly, having no function except communication. It is the lesson in which learning ends, For it is consummated and surpassed with this. It is the invitation to God to take his final step. It is the relinquishment of all other purposes, all other interests, all other wishes, and all other concerns. It is the single desire of the Son for the Father, Mother, God. Lots is packed inside of that statement. So let's break it down. It is the dream in which the body functions perfectly. So we are operating in a dream. The Course in Miracles has made it very clear for me. What is the dream? The dream is nothing more than a belief that this body makes me separate from everybody else. So in the dream that I am separate from one another, I then can get lost in believing the voice of the ego that uses the separation for personal gain and self-protection, manipulation. While we have bodies, we are literally inside of the illusion that we're separate from God. The way the body operates is to create a division, if you will, between us. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a separate sense of self, nothing wrong at all with that. If we use the separation to come together and uplift and support one another, it's beautiful. Then love is present. That's what the Course calls a happy dream. That's why I call this the happy dream creators. We have got to get clear that we want to create a happy dream. How else are we going to get out of the nightmare that we're in if we don't change it to a happy dream? In the nightmare that we're currently in, we have created hierarchies. We have created pyramids where people are at the top and the rest of us are at the bottom. We have created this sense of belief that external sources have our good in mind for us, that they know better than we do. We've been all of us have been indoctrinated, from way back in 60s or 70s, whenever the show came out that said Father knows best. So our physical father knows better, our holy father, the father, the priest in the church knows better, our president father knows better, the CEO of the corporation knows better. So we have got to do a lot of basically looking at all of our beliefs and sorting them out. Which are the beliefs that support the nightmare? Which are the beliefs that are going to support the happy dream? Because our body should function perfectly. And how is that possible? Well, if you're pure energy, and your beliefs are in alignment with your eternal sense of self, how can you get sick? How can you possibly die? So the mind has to be corrected to understand what we really are so that our bodies can function perfectly, optimally. The body does not function perfectly and it decays now. Back in the Old Testament, bodies used to live 700, 800, 900 years because our bodies were designed, when in alignment with God, to last for a very long time, because happiness and joy allows for why wouldn't you want to live for 600, 700, 800, 900 years if you're happy? But we can't have that experience now because we are literally miserable. That lack of alignment with the truth of who we are makes us dense. It causes dis-ease because we're not at ease with the truth of who we are. We are at war inside of ourselves, conflicting thought systems within us, which are projected as conflicting experiences with our brothers and sisters, among family members, among community members, among countries, among, just in the planet. And overall, we're projecting that lack of congruency in here. We project it outside. So the bodies are holding the density of low frequency thoughts. As we have written here so many times, it is, and Sarita, just so that you know, this is just a chart that you probably remember from Course in Miracles classes at Unity. This is the map of consciousness, where our density, our belief systems of fear make us so dense. This is where evil resides, according to the map of consciousness in the book Power versus Force. So we literally have to question every single belief that we have until we get to the place that we release the beliefs of the world and receive the truth of who we are that is already there, which is what resurrects. We have crucified the truth because we have descended down into the idea that we're separate. We need to ascend to the truth of who we are to reclaim our truth, which is already inside. So we're going to allow that to come forward. So if the body functions perfectly, supposed to function perfectly, we have to ask ourselves, why are they not functioning perfectly today? Then we have to get really honest. If, especially those of us who are spiritual and we believe that our thoughts create our reality, we have a lot of thoughts that are creating density, creating illness. But also, we have a lot of circumstances that are contributing to the densification of the human body. As we become more densified, again, we go into more states of fear. By densifying our bodies, I mean the pollution of our air, the pollution of our water, the pollution of our food, the pollution of our mind, the pollution of everything and anything that we think is supposed to help us is a systematic process by which those who operate at the densest levels, as low as evil, have done. But they have done this simply because we have not been paying attention to the voice inside of us. And when we listen to the voice inside of us, and it tells us not to be afraid of death, we don't know how to deal with standing up and speaking up, because we're afraid that if we speak up, we're going to be hurt, we're going to be banished, we're going to be censored. So there's a lot that is taking place right now as more light is coming into the world. And by coming into the world is because we're willing to come up into the light of truth and accept our power, our sovereignty, and we're beginning to question the systems that have been in place for a very long time that have been polluting our mind. And as within, so without. If your mind is polluted, that means it's a reflection of what is external that has also been polluted. So we have to ask ourselves, if our bodies are designed to be healthy and eternal, how are they getting sick? Well, that is a question that most of us do not want to ask, because on the other side of questioning that, we're going to discover, because we have allowed it. The Course in Miracles is all about personal responsibility. When we participate in feeding our bodies things that are not healthy, when we participate in systems that of pollution, and we are willing to breathe that air that we know is being polluted through chemtrails or through smokestacks or through whatever it might be, we are complicit in creating something that is part of a system that is designed to keep us in separation. So there are a lot of things that need to take place, and awakening is actually a pretty slow process, because it is about removing layers. We got to take layers off, and layers of beliefs that have to be questioned. So the lesson of the resurrection is where all learning ends. We no longer need to learn, get our truth from the outside. The truth comes from the inside, and then that truth, it permeates everything that is in this world, but it has to come from inside first. The body's ultimate function, when we are operating in alignment with truth, is to communicate that truth, is to extend love, kindness, gentleness, is to let everybody know that we see each other as the beings that we are, as the sovereign beings that we are. Paragraph number 2. And Dondra, you just joined us. We're reading in the Manual for Teachers, what is the resurrection, which can be found on page 68. So the resurrection is the denial of death, being the assertion of life. Thus is all the thinking of the world reversed entirely. Life is now recognized as salvation, and pain and misery of any kind perceived as hell. Well, right now we have a lot of hell on this planet. We see a lot of pain and suffering. When we begin to value our life, when we begin to recognize that we are eternal beings, and we begin to really, truly uphold the sanctity of life, we not only, as within, activate that, resurrect that truth inside, but we're going to want to do it outside. When we are fully, completely engaged with the truth of who we are, we will see that all of us are brothers and sisters. The at-one-ment, the atonement that the Course in Miracles wants us to get to is the recognition that we cannot allow a single one of our brothers and sisters to be in misery and not accept a level of responsibility for that, because we are powerful creators. Course in Miracles doesn't want us to feel guilty or bad that there are people starving. It doesn't want us to do that. It just wants us to recognize that we are participating in the projection of that nightmare, simply because we have been conditioned to just take care of ourselves in our own little bubbles. And as long as our little family is okay and our bills are paid and we're so busy working or attempting to, to prepare for retirement or attempting to keep ourselves busy, whatever we have been conditioned to do that keeps us disconnected from the world, we need to understand that that is part of a systematic plan to make us not pay attention to the ways that we are being divided. And again, we are complicit when we allow that to happen, only because we are not in control of our own mind. Our mind has been crucified with information that is misinformation. It's been polluted. It has been made to believe that only what is real is the things of the outer world and not the knowingness that is inside, that makes us all brothers and sisters and makes us, in essence, our brothers and sisters keepers, not to be a bad thing, but rather to uphold the sanctity of every being. And the only way we want them to be free is when we acknowledge our own sovereignty, because it is one of those things that we are one, and where we go one, we go all, because there is a oneness. We are one energy. And again, Course in Miracles doesn't want us to take this on as oh my God, I'm responsible for everybody else. It's really a more, what? I have that much power? I get to do things that help others? If I sit back and don't pay attention to what's going on in the country or in the world, I actually am contributing to the hurting, to the misery of others. That is an empowering thought. That's the way it's meant to be taken. So that pain and misery that is happening, that's not natural. Love will no longer be feared when we resurrect, but gladly welcomed. Idols have disappeared and the remembrance of God shines unimpeded across the world. Idols must disappear. That is one of the commandments. I used to not like those 10 commandments. I was like, that's that old timey crap that I've got to follow those 10 commandments. Well, when I began to have my connection to God, I began to understand that those commandments were not designed to beat us up. They were designed to be reminders of something that happens naturally inside of us. We don't want to kill when we acknowledge our life as something that we want to sanctify. When we recognize that we were created to love one another, we don't want to do things like worship idols, worship external things. You don't let your mind get conditioned into believing that a movie star is better than you, that a politician has more power than you. Those are all things that are made up because our mind has been conditioned into believing things that are simply not true. I've got one of our sweet friends asking for the link, so let me just send it to her really quickly. It won't take me but a second. All right, here we go. Where we go one, we go all. She wants to get in, I'm going to let her in. This is not an exclusive club. So to let the idols disappear, it means that we have to move through this line of pride that has us believe that there are people who know better than we do, or that we know better than other people. We've got to humble ourselves to move through this idea of separation, this idea of better than or less than, this idea of victims and bullies, and move through that into the resurrection of the truth of our oneness. This is all about empowerment. None of this is about making us lose our power, which, by the way, is the way that we are maintained in such confusion, because we have so many different idols. We idolize money, we idolize the church leaders, we idolize the entertainment people, we idolize the world leaders. This so many things that we idolize, that we become distracted from the only thing that we should worship. And it's the power that exists inside of us, where we recognize that you and God are one. My deep dive into the Course in Miracles now is to look for those reminders of oneness with God, and they're everywhere. That's really what Jesus is attempting to let us know. God is everything. So if God is everything, God is me. If I am God, well, and I find out that all it is loving, what do I do with that love? I extend it for the upliftment of all of humanity. And that is what makes idols disappear, because when you know the truth of who you are, you worship only love, period. Now there's no idols out there, especially not those false idols that we have been indoctrinated with. So what happens when we resurrect? Christ's face is seen in every living thing, and nothing is held in darkness. Apart from the light of forgiveness, there is no sorrow still upon the earth. The joy of heaven has come upon it. To be able to experience the joy of heaven, we have got to recognize the Christ in each and every one of us. And by recognizing the Christ in each and every one of us, we recognize that which is pure. Let me read what it says up here, because I know it's hard to read since it's so light, because it is when we reach enlightenment, enlightenment is pure consciousness. It is perfect. It is bliss. It is joy, peace, and oneness. It is the love, the serenity, the complete knowingness that not only are we meaningful, everything is meaningful, has the meaning that God has assigned to it. We accept all that is because we love it. And in our desire to live in harmony, we forgive anyone, when they are not operating in their right mind. So we're activating a level of reason that allows us to realize that, as the Course in Miracles has taught me, people either walk the talk of truth, or two other options: they talk it but don't walk it, or they don't even know it. They don't even talk it because it's not even in their vocabulary. So there's a lot that needs to take place for all of us to come to understand what the Christ is. And it is the light of God inside of us. When we reach that, when that begins to awaken inside of us, when it begins to resurrect inside of us, when that happens, we begin to willingly want to forgive those who know not what they're doing, because we see that all that has happened is that they've been mistaken. They've been indoctrinated with misinformation, and we forgive them for they know not what they're doing. Now, let me just say, nothing in the Course in Miracles is passive. This is an act of receiving guidance. We've got to take it in. You put that mask on you first, you receive the truth wherever you're receiving it, and then you make it real in your life. You realize it, you cognize it in your mind, and you realize it, so that your body becomes one in thoughts, words, deeds, and actions, which is actually one of our unity principles, those of us who have been unity followers. When all of that goes into action, then each one of us is going to be inspired into what to do. But every one of us is going to feel an incredible sense of sovereignty, an incredible sense of wanting to do what is right, not because we're judging right or wrong, but we want to be on the right side of the cross. We don't want to be on the bottom in the crucifixion. We want to use the cross for the resurrection as an example of what it is that we want to let go of. The next paragraph 3 inside of what is the resurrection, is that this is where the curriculum ends. That means you don't need to learn anything else. The course is done when you accept the truth of your sovereignty and you begin to walk the talk. You awaken and live in that Christed sense of truth of who you are. It is to accept that the church told us this nonsense that Jesus was the only Son of God, and that only he was holy. This is to accept what Jesus was telling all of us, that he and the Father were one, and so are we. We have to accept our oneness with the creative source and accept the power that comes with that knowingness. So from here on, no directions are needed. Vision is wholly corrected and all mistakes undone. Attack is meaningless and peace has come. You know, the world right now, we see a lot of attacking. We see a lot of attacking in the media, in the politics, in families, attacking the ones who are not vaccinating, attacking the ones who are not putting on the mask, or attacking the ones who want to wear the mask. A lot of attacking is going on, all because we're not centered in the truth of who we are. It doesn't help to attack the attackers. What helps is to forgive their delusion, to forgive their insanity, and then ask the creative source, what would you have me do? When we are in service to bringing about peace on earth, we are going to be guided into action, but it has to come from a place of purity within. It has to come from our resurrected self. It cannot come from our judgmental and attacking and condemning self, because two wrongs do not make a right. And that is something that we've got to get really clear. A mind that is judging is never going to correct what is happening in the world. Only a mind that is at peace with itself can hear the guidance of God. I'm going to put this in because it's getting really loud with the rain over here. Today we won't have the lawnmowers, but isn't that beautiful? There's always something beautiful coming my way. All right, so sentence number 5 says that the goal of the curriculum will have been achieved. Training our mind will be achieved when we're living completely from the truth of who we are. Thoughts turn to heaven and away from hell. All longings are satisfied for what remains unanswered or incomplete. You know, the reason we have all of these longings about, you know, wanting more of this, wanting more of that, chasing the riches, chasing, you know, the partner so that it can complete us. Thank you, Jerry Maguire. Chasing positions of status. The reason we feel incomplete is because we have been directed outwardly to find our truth and our happiness and our joy. We have not been trained from the time we were little to go inside. As a matter of fact, the reason we have hell in the world and we have projected this world of suffering is because we have been deliberately kept from going inside. It's exactly what we are not taught to do. So it requires an incredible amount of determination to go within, move below the noise in the head, and begin to sort out those beliefs that don't serve us, so that we can arise, so we can resurrect up and out of the density of all of that misinformation. So our longings shift. I know mine have dramatically. I don't long to get stuff. Now, my desires, what makes me feel most joyful, is to want people to have all of the good that is ours. And does it include money? Of course it does. But I'm not chasing it to get it for me because it's going to make me somebody. I am committed to helping people realize that the new earth that we want to create is going to be created through a belief in our worth, through a belief in our deservability, the belief that all beings deserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that in this world includes financial abundance, it includes well-being, it includes sure things, but when you're no longer attached to them, you are free to really pursue the things that matter and that are eternal and that, as the Course says, have ultimate value. And one of the things that those false idols that think that they are the rulers don't want us to understand is that when we become happy, we cannot be controllable. Because when we become happy inside, we don't buy into all of these things that we're told we need to buy to be happy. And it begins the breaking down of the attachments that have been created to the things of the world, which again is why in the beginning, you know, in the second sentence,
is that this reawakening, this rebirth, this resurrection means that we have to change our mind about the meaning of the world. So nothing outside can have more value than that which is inside. So our self-worth is what matters more than our net worth. From that place, again, we cannot be controlled. Once you're not grasping at stuff of the world, once you're not afraid of losing the things of the world, we are not controllable. So the last illusion spreads across the world, forgiving all things and replacing all attacks. But what this is saying is, once you commit to the resurrection, little by little, things will begin to lose their power externally. So the last illusion will be completely, you will feel it when you will stop attacking anything external, because you have come to the place of inner peace inside. So the whole reversal will be accomplished. Nothing is left to contradict the word of God. There is no opposition to the truth. And now the truth can come at last. How quickly will it come? As it is asked to enter and envelop such a world. You know, it appears that it is taking a long time for us to correct the insanity in the world, but the correction, you feel it pretty quickly every single time you decide to only listen to the voice for God. It is a quick shift inside. That's what the miracle is all about. The shift in perception is the realization that your sovereignty comes from within. We have to do this over and over and over and over again, so that as we change in here, we go out into the world as an example of one who has resurrected their awareness to a higher level of consciousness, and now is not swayed by the shenanigans of the world, but rather can see clearly what is loving by people who are connected to God inside, and what is a call for love by those who are idolizing the voice of the ego. It becomes very simple. The fourth paragraph says, all living hearts are tranquil with a stir of deep anticipation, for the time of everlasting things is now at hand. Aren't you feeling an excitement about something that is coming? That excitement about what is coming is really truly the resurrection of the truth for many, many of us on this planet. We are beginning to join in a clear awareness of goodness coming. The difference between those who are excited about what's coming, to me, is those who are expecting what is coming to be good for everybody, and those who are excited about what's coming because they're expecting it to be good only for them. And that, to me, is where we find the distinction of those who have resurrected and understand that the oneness, I want for me what I want for you, I want for you what I want for me. And those who are looking for what comes to them, which is pure pride, that's where we're going to be seeing a distinction, and people are being divided right now by those who want everybody to be free, and those who want to make sure that their freedom comes by controlling others, which means they're looking for safety, not sovereignty. And that, to me, is going to be the big way that we're going to be divided. Again, this wants us to remind us, when we are resurrected, living from the truth, there is no death. The Son of God is free. And in his freedom is the end of fear. No hidden places now remain on earth to shelter sick illusions, dreams of fear, and misperceptions of the universe. All things are seen in light, and in the light, their purpose is transformed and understood. The more that we open up our eyes to see what's going on, the more light we're bringing to the planet. Because then when you can see clearly, like Jesus told us 2,000 years ago, those who have eyes, let them see. The wool has been pulled over our eyes because we came into a planet of separation. That's what the world that we have created is. A world where we come in, separate from one another by taking on these bodies, and entering into the illusion, the delusion, that we're separate from one another, and then I got to take care of me and you take care of you. And in that selfishness, we descend into a place of greed where we can do evil things to one another. Resurrecting means we have to question all of those things and ascend to the higher thinking, the higher frequency thinking that is the light that then allows us to see more clearly what is happening, not to condemn these people, but to stand as an example that there is another way. Like Jesus says, I am the light, the way, the truth. We are each the light, the way, the truth, because as we begin to move up and begin to feel our freedom, guess what's going to happen to those people who are in fear, who need safety? Our freedom for a while is going to threaten them. People tell me, I'm so arrogant because I don't want to get vaccinated. I'm so arrogant because I don't want to participate in external government telling me what to do. I'm so arrogant because I want to be sovereign, that I'm crazy for wanting those things. And that's okay. To anybody down here, anybody who operates in freedom, of course we look crazy because we're not following the rules. And that just activates their recognition of differences that they're not prepared to accept. They want all of us to be the same. That's what happens when the ego takes over. It wants to homogenize the mind. It wants to crucify the truth of who we are so that we can play in a realm of sameness that is activated through a sense of fear of otherness, which is absolutely insane. When you connect with the truth that we're all the same at the level of Christ itself, we love all differences because we recognize them as expressions of the divine. But when we become homogenized, differences are only used to pit us against one another, as is happening in the world right now. So you have to have the eyes to see clearly what is going on. And for that, we have to be willing to get curious. We have to be willing to question every thought. That's why this begins with the fact that we have to change our mind about the meaning that we've given to the world. And we, continuing on paragraph number 4, sentence 3, and we, God's children, rise up from the dust and look upon our perfect sinlessness. The song of heaven sounds around the world as it is lifted and brought to truth. This thing about our perfect sinlessness is something we have got to really get comfortable with. Every being on this planet has a sinless Christ self within. All of us inside of us have that spark of divinity. Whether we have turned it up or not is what makes us, if you want to call, different. Those who are operating in more darkness is because if they're alive, well, they have the spark of divinity in them because divinity is life. Life is eternal. So if your bodysuit is still operating, it's because you have God in you. You have to. You cannot not have God in you. Everything is God being. So those who are not operating at the level of consciousness that allows them to really support and uplift one another are operating at the lowest levels of selfishness because they have convinced themselves that they are more special or less special than others. Victims and bullies operate in the lowest levels of consciousness, and you have to have one to have the other because they're two sides of the same coin. Seeing everybody as having that spark within should be a motivation to help our brothers and sisters remember their truth. We have got to, those of us who are saying that we are operating at the higher frequencies, if we're blaming, judging, attacking, we're not. So we can't delude ourselves into that because our words and our actions are not going to be congruent. Only in acknowledging the truth in another and wanting to assist in the correction, for them to see an example, for them to witness in us that this is really true, that love is really real, we must be willing to operate as Jesus did, as Gandhi did, as Martin Luther King Jr. did. We must be willing to stand up in a peaceful manner, but we must be willing to use our voice to speak the truth. We must be willing to sit in the middle of others attacking us and saying what we know is true in our heart, not to put them down, but to remind them, why do you need to be so greedy when God has given you everything you want? Why do you have to be controlling when God created all of us free? Aren't you tired of being controlling? Don't you realize that by controlling people, you lose your freedom too? You can't be free to do what you want to do when you're busy trying to control everybody else. We need to remind those who have lost their way about the beauty of the way, about what happens when you trust people, the freedom that takes place when our hearts become open and become centered in the goodness that is here for all of us. That is what we really, truly must do to change the world, not attack it, because then we're saying, oh, that craziness is real, has power over me, but rather be the presence that is no longer afraid of it and say to it, there is another way. Even if that means, as we have discussed here before, that you participate in getting involved in politics, like Kat, you said you were doing, following up with the regulations that are taking place. My dear brother Vern sent me information to keep me informed about some of the things that they're wanting to do to change the Second Amendment. You know, I used to be one who want to get rid of guns because the way that the media portrayed the guns out there hurting people, deranged people going on shooting sprees, I didn't want that to happen. None of us want that to happen. But inside of wanting to get rid of the guns or weapons for people who are deranged, there's an insidious need to control others and take their ability to protect themselves away from them, that we have to be really mindful, because only the ego seeks to control. If we really truly wanted to end the senseless killing, we wouldn't attempt to get rid of guns. We would attempt to get rid of the lies that are being fed to the minds of the young children that cause them to forget the truth of who they are, that they become so depressed, they become so disconnected with their joy, that in their disconnection, they're easily manipulated through video games, through movies, into taking their anger, their frustration out on others. You know, these people that commit crimes, they're not happy people, they're hurting people. So if we really wanted to end the senseless killings, as within, so without. If you don't want killing out there, we've got to stop killing the joy of people inside. We've got to stop killing the Christed sense of self inside. We need to resurrect, reawaken, have a rebirth of the truth from the time that they're born all the way until the transition of the physical body. We need to be reminding people that goodness is what is natural to us. Hurting others is not natural. All of that is learned, and it is taught by those who have to perpetuate a game of bullies and victims. Only those who are disconnected from the truth of who they are because they're idolizing money or power, only those seek to perpetuate the insanity of disconnection from our truth. So what do? Attempt to control everybody and disconnect us from, in this world of insanity, in many ways, the only means that we can protect ourselves, which may very well be with weapons. Because at the end of the day, when we do not have a mind that is aligned with God, and then we don't even have the means to protect ourselves from those who want to take full control, what do we have left? What do we have left? In many cases, we may have to attempt to find our power, find our strength through physical means. There is nothing wrong with that. It is something that has to be tempered with an alignment with the truth of our sovereignty. And that's what is going to actually make a huge difference in the world now, is a compassionate standing up for what is our God-given right. And in some cases, it does include, for now, preserving the only means that we have of protection, which in a physical world is going to require physical means. Yes, Vern, thank you. I see your hand is up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something. I find it really interesting. I got my 3 a.m. call again this morning, which I get every morning. Sometimes I get up and listen, and sometimes I roll over and say, is there another opinion? But I got up. I just want to share this with you. I find it's very interesting, the correlation here this morning. I wrote, I am a totally responsible being that will never give up absolute freedom. I say no to any attack on my sovereignty. I must speak and live my truth, or I will grow to despise myself. I am love in action.
Beautiful. What a perfect summary of what we need to resurrect inside of us is that awareness of our perfect sovereignty, and no one is going to protect it for us if we don't value it and protect it ourselves. And there is, no way somebody is going to give us our sovereignty if they're attempting to be in control and be the one who is in charge. So thank you for sharing that. That is absolutely perfect. It goes so perfect with the whole call for the resurrection. Let's go to paragraph number 5. There's only 2 more. So now there are no distinctions. When we come to the truth, we see that we're all God expressing itself differently. Now there's no need to focus on the differences. You're male, I'm female. You're black, I'm white. You're Russian, I'm Dominican. Now we don't focus on the distinctions. Rather, where we come to is, hey, God, how are you expressing today? How are you expressing today? Are you painting today? Are you dancing today? Are you coming up with a new invention that helps heal the world today? When we are focused on the truth of who we are going to be connecting with that which uplifts and brings joy and healing to the world. That is where we're going to be focusing, which is exactly what those right now who think that they have power over us don't want us to understand. Because as long as we can be kept divided by all these crazy laws that uphold this group or that group or that group, what about what the Constitution says? What about we just focus on that one thing? All men and women are created equal, endowed by God with the same inalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Why do we have to write any kind of laws for one group versus another? That is not only is it absolutely absurd, but it is an indicator when you begin to open up your eyes of the ways that we are being manipulated. It is already stated in the Constitution. And while we're busy over here arguing about the different laws and the different groups and pitting each other against one another, we are missing that the documents, the founding documents for this country, were written specifically to let the American people know that we are the ones with the power, that we are the ones who have people representing our voice. And if they're not representing our voice, then we need to change them. But we are so distracted by attempting to protect our own special interest that we think they have the power. And while we think they have the power, they take full advantage of it. And guess what they won't do? Listen to what it is that we desire, because it is a means of attempting to control the American people, and of course, the people of the world, because all governments that are not aligned with God's truth, this is what they do. They don't serve the people, they oppress the people. They are serving themselves. Again, that's what greed and selfishness does. Me first, not we. So we are being invited right here to stop making distinctions with rules, laws, and regulations and amongst each other. Let's focus on where we are the same by coming to the well of truth, and all of us drinking from just that and that alone. Differences have disappeared and love looks on itself. Well, that goes to what Bern just read. This makes me want to cry. When we resurrect the truth of who we are, differences disappear and love looks on itself. I really believe that the day is coming that our government is going to make sure that all rules and regulations have at their core love in them. That means they're going to be compassionate. They're going to be about upholding things, about bringing about everything that is necessary from the beginning to uphold our sovereignty and our sanctity. Government soon, it will be servant leaders who are there doing exactly what our founding documents state should happen. People who go into service, make the world a better place, and then go back and live in the world, not turn it into careers. That is not the role of government ever, to become a career. It's a service. So we have to see what is happening, open our eyes and see what is happening, and look, is it loving to want to control people? Is it loving to punish one another? Is it loving to instigate things that perpetuate infighting? Is that loving? Well, to the ego that operates in conditional love, it sure does seem like it. But to one who has resurrected the truth, the Christ consciousness within, when we find our inner innocence again, we realize that's not love. Love would never ridicule another person. Not only did the old regime ridicule or the opposing group before ridicule the old regime, but the new regime is being ridiculed by some people from the opposing group. We have to stop that. Instead of ridiculing one another, we need to begin to just speak the truth. Hey, what you're doing doesn't make sense. Instead of attacking the person, it's a call for love. It's a call for, hey, where is the love in that rule? Where is the love in this behavior? Where is the love in keeping these children in cages? If you didn't like the children in cages with the old group, why do you accept the children in cages with this group? How is that loving? If God created bodies that have the ability to heal themselves, why are we polluting these bodies? And oftentimes with chemicals called pharmaceuticals. We've got to be willing to take the time to see what's going on and really open up our eyes and be mindful of the ways that we are being deluded, because we are colluding with that insanity by participating through ignorance of what's going on. So there's a lot of eye-opening that has to take place here. All right, let me keep reading here. So if we enter the resurrection, if there are no distinctions, differences disappear, and love looks on itself, sentence 3 says, what further sight is needed? What else do you need to look on except for what is loving and what is the same in all? So what remains that vision could accomplish? We have seen the face of Christ, his sinlessness, his love behind all forms, beyond all purpose. Holy are we because his holiness has set us free indeed. And we accept his holiness as ours as it is. As God created us, so will we be forever and forever. And we wish for nothing but his will to be our own. This is key. We have to accept our holiness. Years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, at the Unity Church that so many of us have been involved in for a very long time, I went to the Reverend and I said, the leader there, and I said, I want us to do a service that is centered around reminding people that we're holy, that we are holy. That was a time when my holiness was becoming so evident to me, and I was beginning to see it in others. And that's how you strengthen it in yourself, is by looking for it in others. And had a bunch of bracelets, little plastic bracelets made that said, I'm holy and I know it. And, it was a great little service for 1 week. And, people talked about it maybe for 2 weeks. And before you knew it, that goes away. And then the infighting happens again. And then the judgment happens again. And the stuff of the ego takes over, because we don't commit to making holiness what we see in one another, to commit that not only to what we talk about, but what we walk around in action, in acknowledgement, in words and deeds, recognizing. And one of the beautiful things today that we're witnessing is a division, primarily because of all of this vaccinated or not vaccinated, masked or not masked, passports to travel by vaccinated people, and you don't have the vaccine, you can't travel. And the world is so polarized in wanting to be right or wrong about one or the other that we don't stop to use Reason should be asking, wait a second, why are we going to something external? Have we stopped to operate from truth, that we are holy beings made of love and light, that inside of us is a healing mechanism? Why are we not asking that question? Where are we activating our own well-being? Where is our powerful immunity system? You know, if this body can keep itself alive, don't you think it has the power to also heal itself? We are not looking for the answers within because we're being distracted with the differences without. And it requires an incredible amount of reason that says, you know what, I don't want to be right. Like the Course in Miracles says, I'd rather be happy. Tell me what is it that you believe? Because if you can sit with somebody and find out what they believe, if they're looking for external authority to take care of them, to save them, to protect them, it's because they're afraid. That means that they don't know the power that exists in them. That is a call for us to love them enough and show them the way home and share, how did I move from believing that my healing came externally? And a lot of these spiritual people, I know because they tell me, well, God is in the vaccine too. Yes, God is in the vaccine. But if God is in the vaccine, why can't I have God in the immune system? Why do you have to force your vaccine when I would prefer to go to my immune system, you know, and do it naturally? This idea that we select where God is and where God is not is part of the problem that we are stuck in. God is everywhere. God can be activated everywhere through our desire to have it be so. But it cannot be your way is right and mine is wrong, or vice versa. It has to be. If each being is sovereign, then we don't have to have laws that force anybody to do anything. Because when we come into alignment and we feel the love of God inside of us, we will do what feels most loving. We will do what feels innately good. And again, if people are doing things that are harmful to others and themselves, it's because they don't remember their truth. So let's work at the level of activating truth, not at the level of suppressing it with more lies and controls and false idols. So there's so much reason that needs to be activated, but reason happens here. You have to move beyond your egoic sense of righteousness. You got to move past that pride that demands your way or the highway, and move into the place of courage that is willing to neutralize the conversation. Go from right and wrong to neutral. Let me hear what you have to say, brother. Let me hear what you have to say, sister. Because if we can accept that ultimately we all do want harmony, there's a whole lot of forgiveness that has to happen. Forgiving ourselves for being deluded, forgiving ourselves for being mean to one another, for being judgmental with one another, for playing victims, for playing bullies. There's a lot of forgiveness that has to happen, but it can't happen if we are in judgment. We got to go to neutral. And that is where the call for love comes in. Are we willing to heed the call for love inside that calls us to connect through the extension of that which is the most beautiful, most blissful experience ever, is the desire to want to connect with another at the level of the Christ itself. Because when you're looking for that in another person, it's only because you have felt it in you. That's the only place where we can find it. The last sentence in paragraph 5 says, illusions of another will, ego's will, are lost, for unity of purpose has been found. We have to resurrect. We've got to awaken the Christ inside. We've got to move off of this cross of crucifixion and align with the truth of our unity, so that we will be more willing to find the purpose that is common in all of us. So the last paragraph, 6, these things await us all. Doesn't say a few, all of us have a beautiful world awaiting for us, but we are not prepared as yet to welcome them with joy. As long as any mind remains possessed of evil dreams and thoughts of hell is real. If our mind is still believing in separation as a ways to protect ourselves. So we're believing in selfishness and greed and just me first, then you. As long as our mind is wanting to be righteous, as long as we need somebody else to protect us because we don't know the truth of our own sovereign power, as long as we believe healing and happiness are outside of us, we are going to be totally and completely uncomfortable with facing the truth. Because ultimately, the truth is, we chose to incarnate. We chose to come into this world, enter the game of separation, but we came in to bring love and light. We just got conditioned into darkness. So we've got to willingly say no to the insanity of separation, and through the willingness and the courage to go into neutrality, stop judging long enough so that we can find the love of God inside of us. Then we will welcome the ability to see what is dismantling before our eyes with joy. Until then, it's going to be very scary. And the evil dream of anybody having power, this is why evil is right there in the map of consciousness, because it is a consciousness. It is a dense consciousness. It's a consciousness that is collapsing onto itself because it's so selfish and greedy. All right, so God's teachers have the goal of awakening the minds of those asleep and seeing there the vision of God's face to take the place of what they dream. This is key. Course in Miracles calls us teachers of God, God's teachers. When we make the commitment to fully arise, to bring our consciousness so that we're receiving guidance from our upper chakras, when our crown chakra is completely open to knowing we're not alone in the universe, there is infinite intelligence everywhere. When we connect to what is speaking truth, when we allow ourselves to receive, whether it's channeled information, whether it's inspired to you directly, whether it's shared by a friend or a brother or a sister here on this planet, when we are willing to do the work that it takes to awaken. And the dark night of the soul is the dark years of the ego. It's not a comfortable place to be. And the world is now going through that because all that is greedy is collapsing under the weight of its own selfishness. Because when you want it for yourself eventually, and you don't want others to have it, eventually it collapses. It's just not going to work. I mean, this is the insanity of these greedy people, is at some point, there is not going to be anybody left that is healthy in the game of the ego, that is healthy, that is going to have independence and money to buy whatever crap they're selling. Because the way that this system is progressing through controls is about disempowering people and making them so that they not only will not be able to do things that are joyful, they're not going to even be able to have the well-being to enjoy being on this planet. So it's an absolutely flawed plan to be selfish and greedy, which is why the ego doesn't utilize reason. It's stupidity. To wake up requires that we acknowledge that we've been playing this game of stupid rules and allow ourselves to get our mind cleared long enough so that we can come to the place of forgiving ourselves for having bought into things that make no sense to the heart. Make no sense to the heart. That corrects the mind. That allows the mind to come back into alignment and become wholehearted when our mind is now in service to what the heart knows, which is love and connection and oneness. So God's teachers have the goal of awakening the minds of those asleep. We have to become the examples. We have to be the ones who walk and talk it. It's our role. We cannot not be examples of the truth that is here, not by pointing and you're doing it wrong, but rather, hey, brother, hey, sister, you could be doing it better. You could be bringing love to the situation and seeing there the vision of Christ's face. You've got the Christ in you. Let that shine. I want to see that part of you. Where in this bill, Mr. President, or this executive order, Mr. President, is the love? Show me the love. Show me how this is good for anybody. Show me the love in there. If we begin to ask that question instead of condemn what is not loving, we're not doing what God wants us to do, to awaken others by the example of calling them into the truth. We cannot go down there to rescue people. We have to stand here and call them into the resurrection. The next sentence says, sentence number 4, The thought of murder is replaced with blessing. The days of killing each other has to go. That doesn't honor life. It doesn't. Judgment is laid by and given him whose function judgment is. We've got to let God be the one who judges. And according to the Course in Miracles, God's final judgment is like the prodigal son's party in the Bible. God's final judgment, it says, come on home, let's celebrate that you're back. And that's what's going to happen one day, is we have to begin to celebrate the people who come back to the truth. Not judge them for being away from the truth, but be a witness of what's possible so that they will rise to the truth, and then we can welcome them back. Because he who judges is not going to condemn, is only going to celebrate. And in his final judgment is restored the truth about the Holy Son of God. He is redeemed, for he has heard God's word and understood its meaning. He is free because he let God's voice proclaim the truth. And all he sought before to crucify are resurrected with him by his side as he prepares with them to meet his God. Course in Miracles tells us, and it lays it out perfectly. This journey of awakening is a very long journey. The experience of truth is instantaneous by our choice to believe the truth, even if for 1 second we experience the miracle of shifting our perception. But the process of people changing their minds takes years, decades, lifetimes. We are now at a point in history, the history of humanity, that there is a collective cry for a shift in perception, to affirm through the courage of our conviction that what is being done is too oppressive. The need to control, the need to force the population to accept a jab with a chemical that has not been tested, to bring about supposedly a well-being that is nonsensical, when 99.5% of the people heal themselves, use other means, other forms of healing that are available, and become okay. Why do we have to jab 100% of the people for what only affects 0.5%? I mean, those things make no sense. And that's when you have to begin to look at, there's got to be another plan then. If this thing is so good for us, we would want it, we would feel it, it would resonate with us. But if there is a resistance to it, there is a knowingness within us that it's not good for us. Course in Miracles wants to invite us to own our power. But for us to own our power, we've got to face the fears that we have that make us give our power away. And as long as we're looking for a false idol to protect us, we are not willing to find that the only protector that will ever protect us is our willingness to restore our mind to the truth. And when we discover our truth, it's the truth for everybody else. So if I've got the answers of God in me, so do you. That means there should be no laws, no rules, no regulations that tell anybody that something external to them knows better than they do. When only the Father inside, Father, Mother, God inside of us holds that truth. And it is our work to remove all of the obstacles so that we can feel the resonance of that vibration. But that's the last thing that these false idols want us to realize, because once we come to God, why would we need a false idol? They fall away. So awakening is important, but it happens through our willingness to look at everything with the eyes of compassion, of forgiveness, because to judge it is to attack it, and then we descend into that frequency. So with that, I am complete with sharing what the Course in Miracles wants us to understand about the resurrection. And I want to open this up to your thoughts, opinions. Did anything resonate? Did you get an aha? Did you get a nugget to take away with you? I would love to hear that from you. So please unmute yourselves and share away. I know it's a lot of information. John, did you get a nugget from this conversation today?
Yeah, the whole thing's a nugget. I mean, it was, yeah, it's quite, and it's the strange thing is, it's like I've heard this somewhere before. I've read this somewhere before. I've dreamed this somewhere before, because it all resonates at a level that is like knowing.
Yeah.
And it's like, wasn't this what Sunday school was 50 years ago or 60 years ago, whatever it was? Yeah, it resonates.
Well, truth resonates, and that's a beautiful thing. It's like we are, every time we come close to truth, it's like a tuning fork. We can feel the vibration. We can feel being called into that resonance, into that alignment. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful, powerful process. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I think that the way it's broken down, I've not really got into the Course in Miracles, but and I know this is some of this is from that, but it has this. I've heard this. There's part of me that knows this, and the breaking down of it, the way you are, and going over it, is what's digging that up, is what's uncovering what's been covering it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing, is that the truth is the truth is the truth. And the Course in Miracles says that it is a required course, not necessarily that you get to the truth the way the course puts it together, but that the truth is required. We have to go through the course of understanding truth, no matter what means we use. And you can't alter the truth. The course says that you can't change the curriculum, but you can take however long you want to take to digest it. So the truth is the truth is the truth, and it's available everywhere. And the only reason that this journey seems to be so freaking slow, Jesus said these same things 2,000 years ago. Why 2,000 years later are we still needing to hear the truth of loving God and loving our neighbors as ourselves? It's only because we have been, well, we're lazy. We're lazy, and we don't want to be wrong. And we don't want to be wrong about our own selfish, greedy ways. And that's why it requires sometimes some pretty drastic measures, a breaking down of something that we value, to bring us to our knees and say, oh, yes, I want to see it differently. God, show me another way. And that's the place where we begin to break down our need to be right and are willing to be open. That is going to be the thing that we're going to witness, as I feel that we are going to witness coming up pretty soon, is that many who think that their way is the right way and are supporting the way of control are going to have to face that giving up their control for safety is actually, they're going to realize, is put them in a prison. And when they see that their way didn't get them what they thought they wanted, they're going to then be willing to question their thoughts and their beliefs and move out of that righteousness. God knows I sat in my spiritualized ego righteousness for a very long time, and humble pie was something I ate for a long time. And we have got to be willing to be okay being wrong. And that's so challenging, because the ego makes it feel like that's what we want to avoid, but it is what we have to face so that we get to the resonance of the truth that is already inside of us. Thank you so much for that. And what about for you, Miss Lisa or Lorelei? Did you guys get a nugget today?
Lots of nuggets. Yeah, willingness to restore my mind to truth.
Well, that alone, there you go. That's the only nugget you need. Follow that one.
Exactly.
And what's so fascinating, as we talked about in the class where we looked at the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind, we have to restore our mind, which means we have to clean out all of the obstacles that we have built, all of the layers of misinformation. We've got to be willing to let them go. And all that misinformation that we're just bodies, that we need external, somebody external to tell us what to do, that anybody has power over us. All of those beliefs, we've got to be willing to say, well, what if I lived without that belief? And that's what restores our mind to truth, is that we don't need rules. There's an innate knowingness that would move us. And it would be loving, because it is an innocence inside of us, like a little child that just wants to play, have fun, and get along. And we got to tap into that. And it's so crazy. We've all been worshiping that higher education that fills our mind with information, but it's only served to clog the very truth that now we got to tap into. It's very simple. Very simple. Anybody else? And then we'll wrap it up. One more person. Vern, Jody, Lisa, anybody? I know sometimes it's a lot of information. Got to digest it.
I'll jump in here for just a second.
Thank you.
I really appreciate today's review reminder. I'm dealing with something pretty powerful right now. I've been part of a group that I helped organize 20 years ago. That was meeting on a regular basis, and I have been attempting periodically to share what's going on with me, my thoughts about things. That's part of what the group is all about. And I ran up against a big wall, and to the point where several of the people that are part of the group feel that I should no longer be part of the group, that I am bringing in things into the discussion that shouldn't be brought into the discussion, that I shouldn't be talking about what I feel is going on in the country and what's happening, and how I feel about patriotism and things like that. And I guess I'm starting to really wonder, why am I there? I mean, what is the intention of me being part of that group? It kind of hurts, because when you've been a part of something for 20 years and put your life and your soul and everything you had into it, it's kind of hard to get that recognition. But I'm in the process right now of I want to have closure with the group, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that in a healthy way. It's not the entire group, I know that. It's only one or two people, I think, that are at the core. They're cowards. They will not address me directly. They prefer doing it through email. But if being sovereign and speaking my beliefs and my truth is not acceptable, then I'm sorry, that's where I'm at. And I've never been not authentic in the group. I've always spoken what I felt, what I thought. It's just that recently, over the last few months, I know, because of what's been going on, that things come up, and I don't know, and I'm sure that I'm not. I have a Facebook account, but I'm not on Facebook, and I'm so glad I never really went down the rabbit hole with that, because I know I'd be in deep doo-doo by now. I mean, really, really, really deep doo-doo, because of the way I would probably be sharing what my thoughts and ideas were. But it's I really get this. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I this cancel thing is just, and then I just got this deal, and I'll bring it up because now they want to do forced vaccine passports. They just announced that today.
Yeah.
What's going on? I mean, they're talking about making a law
Yeah.
Forced vaccine passports.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, this is crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
see, if I even brought that up, just like I did, and as part of the, well, Vern, what's going on with you? Share what's happening with you. What are your concerns today? You know, let's share, let's be open. And if I were to say that, they go nuts.
yeah.
So that's part, and I realize that letting go and moving on without me having to be right. I don't have to be right. I just know that this is no longer part of where I want to be. And you know, and you know, I'm very glad that I found, you know, what you're doing here. I feel much better after I'm done. I get a chance to the blending of the course or spiritual principles with patriotism and sovereignty. I mean, that's very powerful, Laina. And I know you're sincere, and I can feel that you're sincere. And I've always had very strong intuition, and I know you're on the right path. And your willingness to step up and put your name on the line, you know, I really respect that. And I just want, you know, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I know you've had some loss, and you know, I understand that it's their loss. It's not your loss. And I'm not even sure where my spiritual home is anymore. That's really interesting for me. I've always been very much involved but I got involved with Unity in 1982, never missing a year. And now I don't even know, because part of what they're saying now is, you know, what if people don't want to get the vaccine? What if they don't want to go along with certain, you know, restrictions or whatever? And the response is, well, we'll find a place for you. You can come and you can be outside. You don't have to come inside. We'll find a way to accommodate you and your beliefs and your needs. That's hard. That is really, really, really hard for me. I'm sorry, I'm going off. I didn't mean to do that. But
No.
I mean, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And I mean,
The
it's
world
like,
over. The world
Yeah.
over. This is what's
Yeah.
happening in the world over.
all over the place. So I just wanted to share that.
I first want to thank you, Laura. I'm going to go right to you in a second. I want to first thank you for your sincerity and your vulnerability and sharing. That just means a lot to me, that you feel safe in this space to be able to bring that up. And I do have some things I want to share. Lorelei, go ahead and share your perspective.
I just want to share what's going on in this situation, Vern. I mean, as pronounced as it is for you, and the challenge and the grief, whatever, the letting go, it's so models this planetary dance that's going on between the old and the new, the conservative and the radical, the past and the future, which you very much embody, both of you guys do. So I just wanted to say, and it doesn't necessarily take away what you're feeling, but it so models what's going on. And what I keep coming to is like what you were saying, Vern, something about, well, if I said this, we all got to speak whatever our truth is now, in my opinion. And those, as somebody said on a call somewhere, those pop-up communities are creating themselves. This is a pop-up community right now, this space that we're in every week. And so I just wanted to offer that as just a confirmation of, even though it's your personal experience, it's everybody's experience now on some level, even if there's not a consciousness around it. So, I love you. And I just wanted to offer that.
Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful, Lorelei. As we know, history repeats itself, because the ego operates in history and only repeats itself. It doesn't know anything other than to do the same thing, which is why it always gets the same results, even though it wants things to be different. Our heart wants things to be different, but we always default to the mind and keep repeating what the mind knows. And what is happening to you, Vern? Obviously, it's happened to me. I definitely have been crucified by my spiritual community. It's been just fascinating to watch, but it has taught me, it has given me the opportunity to practice what I teach. And it has taught me that, and we've read this in other places, you can't be a prophet in your own town. We're only liked as long as we are sharing the same information. And it's okay to operate at a higher frequency as long as you're on rock the boat among those who are comfortable with talking about it, but not walking it. But the times that we're in now is like a divine shaking of the rug. And now we are going to have to see what's been under the rug. And under the rug is a whole lot of fear. It's people who talk it, but don't walk it. And, you know, what I just got is, I would love to invite you to consider to do like a weekly talk with me. Let's you and I have live conversations, because there are people who want to hear how to blend spirituality with politics, with sovereignty, from a place of really gently expressing what's going on. And you know, you and I can have that conversation. A lot of people can't do that without getting over emotional. I had my time that way. I remember you when you might be more emotional. And I think we both have come to a place where there's nobody to judge. Everybody is on this journey acting out the role in consciousness that they need to be acting out. As Lorelei always says, cast of characters. We have a big cast of characters. What is happening is some of us are bored with the same performance. We want something new. And the new is the resurrection. The new is the way of unity, of love, of uplifting one another. And the way of the old is of crucifixion, is crucifying everybody. And the attempts are so desperate right now that seriously, you want to vaccinate everybody for something that is not only doesn't cure what is, but it's not that bad, and you know, doesn't affect that many people. And ultimately, you want to stop people from moving about and doing the very herd immunity that is actually the whole, you know, our well-being comes, you know, community is immunity. It's crazy. It makes absolutely no sense. So if that appeals to you, let's you and I connect. And Jody wanted to share something. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Laina,
hi.
I'll follow up with that. We'll get together, you and I. We'll do a
Thank you.
Zoom.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you all very much. The truth, I don't remember, Lorelei said something about, well, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but something about the truth. It's just good to be here and remember the truth, because, and that's all that's true and feels real. And it goes to what John was saying too about remembering. It's like, when it feels right, it's like, it's just our body remembering and recognizing truth. And I really needed this. My ego has, I've allowed it to just kind of take me in a downward spiral in the last couple days. And I didn't even want to be here yesterday. I was like, I just want to check out. I'm done. And my ego is really strong. It just ego wants us dead, really. And I don't want to be dead today. So I'm fine today, but my God, that voice, it just doesn't matter how long I've done this work. It's just insane. Ego is insane. That's what I want to say.
Well, I want to commend you for having the courage to not listen to that voice, to choose to not let it take you where it wants to take you. And that is the beginning of the activation of sovereignty, is first sovereignty over our mind. And when we are willing to choose the voice we're going to listen to, believe me, we're not going to be willing to listen to false prophets and false idols. But you cannot listen to only the voice for God until you choose not to listen to the voice of your insane ego. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you're here, not only with us in this moment today, but still on this earthly plane.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And, you know, as you can tell by, you know, the small crowds, this is a very uncomfortable conversation. And really, it takes a whole lot of courage to come in and be open to spirituality, politics, sovereignty, freedom, God, love. So thank you for being the brave and the few that are willing to do that, the courageous and the few. But the numbers are going to increase because this is shifting. More and more people are going to be seeing the desperate attempts at control, and they will start waking up little by little. So it's really fascinating, really fascinating. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mighty companions.
Mighty companions. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. And have a magnificent rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Thank you. Love you. Love you all.
Bye-bye.